Let's do a quick comparison between the Xiaomi 14 Pro against the Xiaomi 15 Pro. This one I bought in China itself, this one imported, and as you can see here from the screen, they have basically the identical screen. On paper, this one here, the 15 Pro, should have 3200 nits, this one here 3000 nits, but in terms of brightness, manually brightness and so on, and readability outdoors, no difference at all with the screen. 6.73 inch on both, the same kind of hole punch. Let me maybe go to the specifications, and the hole punch, you can see it's basically the same, not much of a difference there that we have. When it comes to other differences here, LTPO AMOLED Tech 120 Hz on both, nothing that you can see here as a different kind of beast. When it comes to the operating systems and the animations, you will see that this here is HyperOS 1, this is HyperOS 2, which has much smoother animation than this one here. So I want to maybe demonstrate it a little bit to you, that this one here, the Xiaomi 15 Pro, is a bit smoother there on the outside. Otherwise, when we walk around the device, you can see that basically they are the same. It is not much of a difference here. They have even the same kind of casing that they come with, or this little case that protects it. Power button, volume rocker, same position. And the cameras there, slight change. You can see that the flash wandered from here to here now. And otherwise we have a slight difference here. This has 3.2 times optical zoom, where this one here has a 5 times telezoom lens. So this is why we have a periscope here on the 15 Pro, where here we have just the 3.2 times. Otherwise the lens is also changed. You can see like the position changed. So here we have the ultra wide angle, here we have the main camera sensor, here we have the main camera sensor, here we have the ultra wide angle. So slight change in position there for those. The other big change, because nothing here basically on the bottom changed, USB Type-C 3.2, and here as well. The only thing that really changed is like we have a loudspeaker opening on the 14 Pro that we don't have on the 15 Pro. But it's also not necessary on the 15 Pro, because when it comes to the speakers, they're basically identical. I noticed that the 14 Pro is a tiny bit more sibilant, a tiny bit more treble heavy, where this has a bit more bassy, warmer kind of sounds. But in general, they're very, very similar when it comes to the sound quality. You can see the casing, how nice they match each other. There's a little bit of a difference also on the camera, that this has a reflective kind of coat. So this is like protecting the lenses. So there's like a difference that you can feel with a fingernail, where here it's just one piece of glass and you don't feel the difference there. So this is a slight difference that you can see there. But what we want to do now, in order to compare them a little bit more, is taking a look at the insides there. The operating system I already showed you. There is a difference in fingerprint reader, but you will not really notice that if you're not in the night, because this one here is an optical on the 14 Pro. So you'll see that when I put my finger on it, it will lift up, light up the screen, especially in the night here, where this one here doesn't have to do it, because it is an ultrasonic fingerprint scanner. But when it comes to like scanning the fingers and unlocking the device, they are basically the same. There as a slight, I think, slight performance improvement here, where here you can see if I touch like this, I have to hold a little bit longer for it to unlock. So this is like the difference between ultrasonic and the optical one. So yes, this one is a bit better, faster in unlocking the device with this new fingerprint scanner. What else can we talk about? Snapdragon processors. Here the 8 Gen 3, here's the new 8 Gen Elite, how they call it. Not 8 Gen 4, the Snapdragon 8 Elite is in here. So this one is performing in benchmarks quite a bit better than this one here. Let's check out the benchmark. So here you can see Geekbench 6. You can see that the 15 Pro is a bit ahead of the 14 Pro there, but it's not a huge jump. Not what you expect from the Snapdragon 8 Elite processor, actually, because it should have a little bit higher points there. So I think they're throttling it or running it more conservatively on the 15 Pro than they do it with the 8 Gen 3 here on the 14 Pro, because here you tend to have overheating issues, where here actually I didn't have any overheating issues running any benchmarks at all. But where you see a huge difference is the Antutu score. So this is Antutu almost the same version. It's actually the same version. This is a little bit over 1 million. This is over 2.6 million, almost reaching 3 million like it should on the 8 Elite. So this is a huge difference on those two here when it comes to these kinds of things. And let's check out the last benchmark. And this is the Freemark Wildlife Extreme stress test. You can see that the 14 Pro actually, in terms of stability, is doing a bit better there with 75%, where the 15 Pro has 68.8% in terms of stability rate. So you can see here the difference between those two. But when you take a look at the loop scores and so on, you can see that here the best loop score is 5,000, where he hit 6,300. So yes, the lowest one here is still lower than the lowest one here on the 15 Pro. So in general, yes, you get a bit more performance out of the 15 Pro thanks to the new CPU or SoC. It's basically on par. So if you are struggling between this one and this one, the performance shouldn't be a big issue. But let's talk about their camera systems, and let's do a quick comparison between their camera systems. I will be using the internal mics because the 14 Pro still, even with the latest HyperOS 1 update, has an external mic issue. Whatever you plug in via USB Type-C still uses heavy noise reduction, which doesn't appear on HyperOS 2 on the 15 Pro, which is quite a nice addition. So for content creators, definitely get the 15 Pro because of the external mic bug that still is not fixed, and I'm not sure if Xiaomi is ever gonna fix this on the 14 Pro. So we stick to the internal mics on both of them, and we start off with the front-facing cameras, 32 megapixels on both, and both have 4K recording there. So I'm recording now with the first device. Can you guess which device this is? Yes, this is the 14 Pro, and 4K 30 frames per second. I work with the 4K 30 frames per second timeline, but 60 frames per second would be possible here as well with this one. Stabilization is quite nice, and I think also the audio quality is adequate. I heard already better because I think the noise reduction quality is not always the best there, but I think it's a flagship level kind of sound that you can get here with the recording. During recording, I cannot zoom in or out. I can only pause the recording, take a snapshot, and have like some markers set up. That's everything that I can do. A markers is like a time code setup that I can do. Nothing more that I can do here with the front-facing video on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. And now I'm recording with the 15 Pro. Basically the same kind of settings, 4K 30 frames per second. I have also HDR that I see there in 4K. This is, I think, an improvement over the 14 Pro that didn't have this option of recording 4K on the front-facing camera, 4K HDR on the front-facing camera. 4K 30, 4K 60. This is 4K 30. Same options. I can set a time code. I can pause the video, or I can take a snapshot. I don't have a zoom in or out function on this one here. I don't see at least any buttons here. What do you think about the audio quality? Is there a big difference? What do you think about the quality in general? I think apart from a little bit of more processing power on the 15 Pro, on the front-facing video camera, you shouldn't notice any big difference. But you be the judge. What do you think about this one here? And just to make it fair and square, now both side by side, holding them in parallel side by side. So I will probably also put them side by side on the video where you can see any changes there. The only thing that I notice is that we have a warmer white balance on the 14 Pro, at least on screen. Might be that it's just the screen calibrated a bit warmer there than on the 15 Pro, where the 15 Pro has a bit of better white balance because it's like not so warm there, because the background there, the wallpaper is white, not yellow or greenish kind of tint that we see on the 14 Pro, that I see on the 14 Pro. I'm not sure if you see this in the end result. So yeah, this is the front-facing video. I don't expect too much of a difference. What do you think about this one here? Now testing the 14 Pro's main camera facing me right now. So I'm using it for vlogging just to see different kind of lighting, how it will hit your face. And if you want to use it for content creation, like I said, don't use it for content creation if you want to use an external microphone, because it sounds awful. For now, maybe HyperOS 2.0 update will fix it finally, but we will have to see. They had 1 year time and they didn't fix it in this 1 year, so we have to see how it works out. This is the main camera sensor. I can also switch to the ultra wide angle just by sliding out. I have a slider here, not a button. And then you see the ultra wide angle. You can also do it vlogging style if you want to. So this is the ultra wide angle, especially in this dim lit situation indoors where I'm walking towards like a little bit of a darker place here. It is probably not the best. What do you think about this one here? And what we want to do is like zoom in on something, because we have, of course, the zoom capabilities. We want to zoom in on some newspapers there. So let's try to zoom in. 1x reached, you see the switching lenses. 3.2x reached, switching lenses 5. And then we're going up to 10 times. This is a 10 times zoom, and we try to zoom on the quote there of this guy there. So this is 15 times. Can you read it? It's English. It's not English, it's German actually. But yeah, what do you think about this one here? 15 times zoom, maximum here on the Xiaomi 14 Pro. I'm recording with the Xiaomi 15 Pro, and this one has in video mode some different settings there. First of all, I have EV control for video. I have beautification for video that I can turn on at 4K 30. I don't have an HDR button that I have on the 14 Pro still, but I have the master video mode that I can activate here if I want to. This is the main camera sensor when you want to vlog. I'm using the internal mics, but the external mics are working nicely, as I said, so this might be better for content creation. Both use the same main camera sensor, but we have the variable aperture on the 14 Pro. But the variable aperture means usually when you take photos and also videos that the aperture is like closing down to f2 instead of f1.4, where we have a fixed aperture here on the Xiaomi 15 Pro. Does it make any sense, any difference? F1.4 should give me a bit more background blur, and especially in this dark when I walk there, a little bit of better colors there as well. I have buttons now to switch to the ultra wide angle. It's the same ultra wide angle, 0.6 times ultra wide angle, so I can walk a little bit to show you the stabilization should work fine. How's the processing here? Is it a bit better? Is it not so grainy or smoothed out there, especially when I walk into the dark with the ultra wide angle there? What do you think about this one here? And also some people are asking me probably about the fogging up issues that I had with the 14 Pro. I don't have it here with the 15 Pro at all. Like I said, I bought it in China, so probably this transport way where it might be fogging up is not happening. Let's try out the zoom test there. Same newspaper there, same room. So let's go. We have a 5x zoom there, but I will just go to 1x first, then 2x. Then we go to the 5 times optical one. Then we go to 10 times. I see it already a lot clearer than on the 14 Pro, and it's not so grainy. And I can go also up to 15 times. I think it's more readable here as well. Might be a bit more wobbly there, but I think definitely for longer zoom ranges, this one here is a clear winner in contrast to the 14 Pro. What is your opinion? And now side by side, both phones here with the internal mics. I'm not sure which one I will use for this one here. We have the 14 Pro and we have the 15 Pro with the main camera sensor in this like dim lit kind of indoor situation. What do you think about the sound quality, but also the video quality? I think it is using f2 here. Maybe it switched to f1.4 on the 14 Pro. But we have f1.4 fixed on the 15 Pro. So what do you think about this one? Now walking a little bit towards the light should like brighten up my face a little bit more. What do you think? Which one is performing better here on this side by side? Quick run through the photos. On the left, the 14 Pro, on the right, the 15 Pro. I noticed that in these challenging situations, the HDR on the 15 Pro needs some optimizations still. Where the 14 Pro is doing a nice job, you can see no overblown highlights with like authentic. The 15 Pro, has overblown highlights, like HDR was not engaged basically. In terms of detail level and so on, I think we have a bit more contrasty look thanks to the not engaged HDR, because I think the HDR here on the 14 Pro is a bit weak as well because it introduced some haze. And in terms of detail level, I think that the 15 Pro is doing a slight better job. When it comes to the ultra wide angle, we can clearly see that both have the overblown highlight there on the side, and it's a bit brighter on the 14 Pro, where it's a bit duller, a bit darker on the 15 Pro. When it comes to detail levels, almost the same. It's just because it's the same sensor. Just the processing, I think, is a bit better on the 15 Pro. I see at least a bit more details there, where here it's a bit smeared already. So this is something that you have to keep in mind. When you go to the center there, center sharpness and so on, not sure what the big difference between those two is here. Maybe the white balance. You can see warmer white balance on the 14 Pro, where the 15 Pro has a more realistic white wallpaper, which is like realistic, like I said. Otherwise, detail level and so on, can see almost on par, a little bit less noise on the 15 Pro. So when I go to the side there, you can see also here in the wood a little bit more detail than on the 14 Pro. So yes, it's a slight improvement, just a processing improvement that we see on the 15 Pro. When we go and check out the 3.2 times zoom, of course the 3.2 times zoom on the 14 Pro is native and wins against the 3.2 times zoom, which is crop on the main sensor on the 15 Pro. So you have this autofocus area quite quickly, where we don't have this here on the 14 Pro. In terms of detail level, very comparable. I'm surprised because I think it's not too far off, but yes, optical zoom always beats the digital zoom there, and in this case it's slightly bit ahead on the 14 Pro than on the 15 Pro. Just like the autofocus area is just a bit too big. This is also what you notice when you go even closer, like close-up shots, macro shots. This is what 3.2 times zoom lens can get you very, very close, and this is what the 5x lens can get you on the 15 Pro. So you can see it's a bit further away. And the other thing is, like, it is a smaller sensor, it introduces more noise, so you have a bit of this like glitter on the controls itself, but there's also some color noise there, and you can see it especially when I want to go closer. I can of course get the 10 times magnification, and then I get a pretty similar kind of result there with the 14 Pro, but the detail level is on a different level, and you can see it when I zoom in, lots of color noise going on there, and we don't have this so much here on the 14 Pro. So yeah, close-up shots I think is a win on the 14 Pro, but it's not such a huge win that I would say, especially in daylight you probably won't notice it, especially if you use the 10 times zoom. You have to go a bit further away with the 15 Pro, but you can achieve something very similar to the 14 Pro, and I think it's a good compromise for the macro capabilities. What I was a bit surprised with is the inconsistencies on the 15 Pro. I think they still have to fix this. This, for example, is totally not exposing on my face, even though the exposure was set to my face. Yes, the 14 Pro is not doing a good job either. Tons of haze there, but at least the face is exposed there, and the background is nice there with the HDR. Here we have tons of noise as well, but I'm totally underexposed. And this is an issue that I noticed on the 15 Pro also with the main camera sensors here using the portrait mode, that this one is exposing nicely, this one is like underexposing and has some noise going on. So there's something still with the firmware on the 15 Pro that is having some issues. Not only this, but here also, like this is now 75mm on the 14 Pro, looks okay. On the 15 Pro, something broken. Gladly this only happened in this test shots that I did here. This is, by the way, 5 times zoom, also very, very nice detail, but tons of noise there going on. Maybe it was a bit too dark, this is why we had the issue. 50mm here, 2 times zoom, also I think a win for the 14 Pro there, for this one. So there's something going on with 15 Pro still. Then I went to the sun or sunny place, and then something happened with the 15 Pro. It turned the new algorithms on or something like this. At least it was winning there against the 14 Pro. Not in this shot, this is 75mm on both, just to see is there a big difference in close-up shots like of objects. It's rarely, it is there. Yeah, this is the 14 Pro and this is the 15 Pro. It is there. You can clearly see it there. A little bit of more detail there on the 14 Pro, but it's not a huge difference. And where the 15 Pro definitely wins is long time zooms. This is 10 times zoom, impressive for the 14 Pro, but the 15 Pro with its crop in from the 5 times optical is clearly winning in terms of detail level, 100% here. And the more you zoom in, the more it becomes clear. This is now 20 times zoom, where both engage their AI. We have a more contrasty look on the 14 Pro. It's a bit less contrasty, not sure why, on the 15 Pro, but in terms of detail levels here, you can see it's struggling a lot already, where here it is much clearer. The numbers are much more readable. Here it could be like 25, 0, 250 or something like that. Here you can see it's like 50 and there's like a little loop there, 40 and so on. You can read the temperatures there. I hope you never reach minus 40. Anyway, also the details here on the brickwork and so on, it's like much more there on the 15 Pro. So longer zooms, yes, definitely, like the hardware tells you, a win for the 15 Pro. The selfie cam redeems itself as soon as you get a little bit more light. You can see that this, at first glance, they look very, very similar, but when you go in, you can see this haze effect that you have here on the 14 Pro. And I was cleaning up the lens, the front-facing lens, and it didn't help, where the 15 Pro wins there because it doesn't have this haze, and yeah, it's a bit more yellowish, this color there. But I think this haze is gone, which helps enormously with the colors there as well. A bit more punchy here, a bit less punchy here, because this shirt is not this kind of yellowish green. It is more this kind of greenish green there that you see there. And you can see it also with, if I'm going a few steps away, that it keeps it nicely on the 15 Pro, where we have a bit of haze still going on the 14 Pro there. The 15 Pro is a bit better. What you can see here is a huge difference in processing. It is a much more natural kind of processing on the 14 Pro, I think, because it's a little bit softer and it's a bit more sharpened up, maybe a bit too over sharpened on the 15 Pro, that I don't really like, I have to say. Also a bit warmer the face there, a bit more reddish the face on the 15 Pro. It has more pores, more stuff there, but it's like maybe a bit exaggerating. HDR, I think, is a bit poorer on the 15 Pro. Look at the window, overblown completely, where on the 14 Pro, at least you have a little bit of things that you can see there still. So there's a bit of a difference in terms of how they process stuff with their portrait modes, and the same goes for this shot now with a bit more light. You can see much warmer colors on the 14 Pro, where the 15 Pro keeps it more blue. The haze again on the 14 Pro, where it's kept a little bit better on the 15 Pro, but the detail levels are lacking on the 15 Pro in comparison to the 14 Pro. So very, very comparable here. Also very comparable, not much of a difference in terms of detail level and so on. It's just like a bit of brighter on the 15 Pro, and my hair color is more realistic because I have a darker blonde hair and not like this too darkish kind of almost blackish kind of hair that you see there. So a bit more to contrast here on the 14 Pro, where the 15 Pro does a better job. So it's just a processing thing that you see there also with other shots here. I also prefer, again, the 15 Pro, a bit brighter, and the face color a bit more realistic, where here's a bit too contrasty on the 14 Pro. What do you think about the portraits? And here we are done with the photos. In general, I think it's a minor improvement on the 15 Pro over the 14 Pro, but the 14 Pro has more consistent photos right now. The 15 Pro needs an update. You can see it here with the HDR, for example, in this situation, where it needs to be a bit better. I like the 15 Pro's more reach for like 5x and 10x and 20x being more usable, but at the same time not losing too much ground to the 3x portrait kind of shots that you saw with the 14 Pro. Yes, the portraits, if they work well on the 15 Pro, they can compete with the 14 Pro. But yeah, you be the judge. What do you think about this? I think the 15 Pro needs a little bit more updates there, and then can definitely beat the 14 Pro also in terms of photography. But for now, it is more or less a tie between those. Just the longer zoom ranges is our clear win for the 15 Pro. Let me show you some differences regarding the camera application. First of all, we get the same features as on the Ultra. So we have this new chooser here for the millimeters, where here we only have the face and body chooser, which like, and body chooser goes, I think, to 23 millimeters. Otherwise, it's like 75 millimeters. And the lens chooser, where you can choose here different lenses on the 14 Pro, like documentary 35, swiftly bokeh with 50, portrait 75, and a soft focus with 90 millimeters. This is completely, no, not completely, but it is gone a little bit. Here you can choose as well the standard swiftly bokeh, set focus, and wide focus as bubbles. So the Ultra still has the millimeters here, but the Pro version doesn't have it anymore because you have the millimeter chooser here, which makes much more sense in my opinion. Then what is new as well is the possibility to have a beautifying option there for the portrait mode as well, where here you have this mode here. We can also beautify and have filters combined together, where here they are different buttons basically. So it is the same kind of functions and features, but a bit better here on the 15 Pro for sure, for that matter. Both options have HDR, as well as the chooser between Leica Master Portrait and the Leica Authentic or the Leica Portraits. I used the Leica Portraits because I like this a little bit better there, but you might feel that the master portrait works better. In terms of photography, I also chose the Leica Authentic because I like Leica Authentic a little bit better. So this is what you have here. I didn't notice much of a difference. There's like a moving option there as well for moving pictures now. Because I'm night mode right now, it doesn't work because it's dark. Anyway, we have again the possibility to choose the beautifying option there and the filters separately, where here it is like one button and you can choose between filters and beautification on the 14 Pro. So I think this makes more sense here. What we have here as well is EV control. You can see we have an EV control where you can like control the exposure in normal photo mode, which is like a good thing. And the other thing is like we have moving subject option there. So if I turn this on, you can see that we are going in motion capture mode, which is especially useful for kids and dogs and all other fast moving subjects that you can photograph with this. So faster shutter speed definitely on the 15 Pro for that matter. The 14 Pro has a fast shot mode that can also do this, but we also have this fast shot mode here on the 15 Pro. Where is it? I think it is there, a different mode there. And here you can see also the new UI where you can choose between the different focal lengths: 23, 28, 35, 50, 75, 135. This is more of a mode that can be used for street photography because it's very, very fast. You can also set your focus distance there in meters, so you don't have to rely on the focus. Very good for street photography. And again, we have some certain differences here. We both have EV controls. We have the possibility now on the 15 Pro sadly with the old UI, so they didn't upgrade it, filters and portrait style that you can choose here. So you can have like a portrait style, contrast, texture, or black and white, which is quite nice. And here we have only the Leica natural filter, Leica black and white and HC filters, but we don't have a beautification kind of thing going on there. So this is like a difference that we have here. Also, we have some other options here. We can reset all camera parameters if we want to. This is not available here. I think it is available somewhere else. No, it's not. And we have some information option which gives us a feature description on how to use this special mode there and what it can give you, like an extended viewfinder mode, for example. Very, very nice. I like this fast shot mode. It's like for every street photographer, definitely something very nice and handy. There's a new mode called panning car shot, which is pretty nice. Don't know if you see it there on the top. So panning car shot off and on, and if you have it on, you can like pan and have a car shot, so automatically adjusts everything that you need for this. And there's another option here, the extended viewfinder, that you can turn on and off, where we don't have this here on the 14 Pro. And then of course the chooser for the Leica portraits. So the fast shot mode definitely also something that I can recommend. In terms of video mode, let's go out of here and go to video. Basically the same again, like with the filters and beautifications here and here in two different buttons, and also the beautifications directly here. You have the possibility to change certain things there. Where here, I think if I go to beautify, you can see you only have a slider there, so there's a difference there as well. HDR is not possible here, as you can see here, as a button, where here you can just simply toggle HDR on and off. But what you have here instead is this master mode, master cinema mode, which is also recording in a flat profile, I think even 10-bit log. Otherwise, you can, of course, choose your frame rates, your flash that you want to use, super macro mode on both here, source tracking, as well as teleprompter mode and subtitles and such things. All in here. Steady video is there as well on both, as you see there. On first glance, motion tracking focus is there on both. I don't see much of a difference. There's just the aperture that we have here that we can set up on the 14 Pro that we don't have on the 15 Pro. So these are the basic differences in terms of cameras. There's like, of course, Pro mode for all of them. All the lenses are there. You can see here it's like ultra wide, wide, and tele. Here it's stated the millimeters, so 14, 23 and 120 millimeters, but both have basically the same settings, so you have the possibility to choose your tones and tonality, textures and so on. You can set it up the way you like. We have this here as well, just a different icon there, and sharpness added there as well. Do we have sharpness here as well? We don't have sharpness here, so this is one thing that you can set up as well if you want to on the 15 Pro, which is a nice addition. Otherwise, yeah, the profiles again, filters that you can choose here. Basically the same filters, nothing much has changed there. And you have the same kind of settings here as well, with the exception of the aperture. So Ultra HD 50 or 50 megapixels is possible here. As you see, it's just a different logo there for this one. The auto exposure settings are there, time burst are there, exposure verification, focus speaking is on both, histogram and watermark is there, voice shutter is on both there. So for people who like to use voice shutters, it's also possible to be used there. The same goes for video mode. We have one thing that I wanted to show you, have the possibility, just like on the 14 Ultra, to save profiles here and import profiles from other users, for example, or have them selected here, which is quite nice, that we don't have on the 14 Pro yet. Maybe with HyperOS 2 this will come. Let's go to video mode here in Pro mode, the same kind of things, nothing much has changed there. We can select our voices here and have audio zoom, and if you use the front or back facing voices there. Omnidirectional, I cannot set up anything, but here I can set up something, so I'm not sure what it is doing there, to be completely honest. Yeah, we can experiment with all the stuff there. The filters are here again, both like the same, and the audio indicator is there. There's just like the master mode again, master cinema mode, which allows you to use the flat profile. Info button on both, and the resolution that you can choose, and the frame rate, and histogram that you can choose, auto exposure, focus speaking that you can choose, and there's, I think, a log that you can record on both there, the aspect ratio that you can set up. Just everything that you want to is possible here. So quick run through the camera application. There are probably more little subtle changes there between those two, but these are the most important ones that people will probably want to know about, and I don't want to answer them all in the comments, so this is why I'm showing you here on screen. Charging and battery life is quite interesting, because the 14 Pro offers 120 watt of charging, where the 15 Pro only has 90 watt of charging. But the battery capacity is much higher on the 15 Pro with 6,100 milliamp hours, where we only have 4,880 milliamp hours on the 14 Pro. So this is a huge difference there that you also will see in battery life. You can see here the estimate of the battery life. We have 65 and 86% here, but you can see roughly how much more the 15 Pro will last you in comparison to the 14 Pro. So yes, it's a definite win for the 15 Pro in this regard. Another big change is the AI function. The 14 Pro has Mi AI, which has several features like voice commands, suggestions, scanners, translation, and call assistant. Where here we have the Xiaomi Hyper AI, which also features the Mi AI options there, which are exactly the same, so nothing there new. But we have also the AI app Boost, and this has AI writing, improved writing and generating text, which is quite nice. It has dynamic wallpapers that you can create. So you can see our description, gallery editor. So we have enhancement options for photos. We have the possibility to expand an image. We have eraser to erase certain things. We have AI film, which uploads videos and photos automatically and generates videos out of it, and AI image, which allows you to generate images, multiple styles for images and so on, which is quite cool. The cool thing is most of them can be downloaded as a plugin onto device, so they can be run offline on the device, which is quite nice. AI interpreter, translate calls and conferences immediately, speech recognition there as well. Allows you to do transcriptions and distinguish speakers, and summarize texts and translate texts and so on. This is working definitely for Chinese. I'm not sure if it's working for English as well. We have AI subtitles as well here, and we have AI search, which is like search system apps, and Mi AI integration, and AI fraud prevention, recognizes and warns against fraudulent calls, which is quite nice. So this is something that is definitely only working in China, but at least we have those functions and features here, which is quite a nice addition to the 15 Pro. So in terms of AI features, yes, the 15 Pro offers a little bit more than the 14 Pro, but it is something that maybe the 14 Pro can get with updates as well, especially when HyperOS 2 will land on the 14 Pro. And more concretely, I can show it to you in the 15 Pro's gallery application. This is how it works. You edit an image like this one here and go to AI and have all the features here, like the expand feature or AI image. And if you click on this, you have the possibility to download this as plugin there. And I can hit confirm. It will start downloading. You can see it here on the bottom. It's downloading the feature now, so the AI image feature, which is quite nice and allows you then to edit your image. And this is then on device, which is pretty cool, so you can use it also offline, so you don't have to upload the photo somewhere to the cloud. And the 15 Pro also features this cool AI feature here that can generate some text or help you with certain things. Can't execute this command there, but let's say create a fitness plan. Let's try to do this. And so one of the recommendations there, and it creates a fitness plan for me. So it has some basic AI functionality, which in general is better than what we have here on the 14 Pro. Basically also they are using the power of the Snapdragon 8 Elite, but I could imagine with HyperOS 2 this being added to the 14 Pro as well. So what do you think about the AI features here of the 15 Pro? So my first impressions with both of those devices, the 14 Pro and the 15 Pro, and the comparison, I think the 15 Pro is an update. It's a slight update, however. With the camera department, you can see definitely the longer zoom ranges are good. I like also that the 3x zoom range, and also apart from some inconsistencies with the portrait mode, especially at first that I had, is keeping up with the dedicated 3.2 times zoom lens. The only thing where it cannot keep up is maybe the macro photography, because this one here is just simply unbeatable in this regard, where the 5x has also some macro capability on the 15 Pro, but it's not as good as on the 14 Pro for sure. Nevertheless, it's a minor upgrade, I think, where they focus on AI and battery. This is, I think, the big thing. And for content creators, of course, the USB Type-C external wireless microphone recording, that is very important, because otherwise the 14 Pro would be a very good device. If Xiaomi is fixing the external mic bug, then I would also say I can recommend fully the 14 Pro, especially if it gets almost all the features of the 15 Pro that are not hardware specific, software specific features with HyperOS 2.0. Otherwise, yes, this one here, it's a lightweight device, 6,100 milliampere hours, way longer battery life than the 14 Pro, that is a bit heavier for sure, way more balanced as well in the hand, so this is clearly the better device. But is it more like a 14S Pro instead of like a second, instead of like a complete new device? No, I think they made some substantial changes where I could argue, yes, it is worth upgrading to the 15 Pro. But not if you have the 14 Pro. It's more if you have the 13 Pro, then you might come thinking if you want to update to the 15 Pro because of the features and the improvements that you see with this device. And definitely if you have an older device of the Xiaomi SoC 12 Pro or something like this, then this is definitely an upgrade for sure. What do you think about this comparison? It's a bit of a longer one. Write it down in the comments if you have some more questions there, stuff that I should try out between those two or compare with them. That's it. Until the next time. Bye.